Peanut Power. Chapter 1. The Midnight PB&J Mishap. Salty Pete polished his shell for the 14th time that day. Safety Protocol 27B, maintain maximum shine for optimal visibility in low-light conditions, he muttered, rubbing the same spot over and over. Come on, Pete. Sweet Hank bounced so hard his bed springs squeaked. I'm starving. The kitchen's right downstairs. It's past bedtime, Pete said, fiddling with their nightlight. Protocol 15A clearly states. Hank's stomach growled like a hungry monster. Please. He put his hands together. I'll be super quiet, like a ninja peanut. Trying to prove his point, Hank attempted a somersault off the bed. Crash! The lamp toppled over. Shh! Pete yanked his brother up. Fine, but we follow the safe snacking guidelines exactly. The brothers crept downstairs, skipping the squeaky third step. Moonlight filled their silent kitchen, while the giant cookie clock tick-tocked outside their window. Hank pulled out yesterday's cookies from the fridge and took a bite, his face twisting in confusion. That's weird, he whispered. These taste funny, like something's gone missing. Pete tried one too, chewing slowly. You're right, Mum's cookies always have that special vanilla taste, but it's gone, just like Mrs. Macadamia's muffins last week. Maybe there's a flavour thief. Hank's eyes lit up. Don't be silly, Pete said, though he'd heard those whispers at school. Now where's that new jar of PB&J? He spotted it on the top shelf and stretched up. His fingers barely touched the jar. Almost got it. Wait. Hank pointed at the jar's purple glow. That doesn't look safe. Too late. The jar wobbled. Hank dove to catch his brother. Pete grabbed for the shelf. They both missed. Sploosh! Purple light flooded the kitchen as the brothers tumbled into the open jar. The PB&J bubbled and fizzed like crazy. Oh, nuts, Pete groaned, covered in glowing jelly. His nose twitched. Pete, don't, achoo! Pop! A golden bubble wrapped around Pete, lifting him up. What in the name of food safety? Awesome! Hank reached out but shot honey from his hand instead. Splat! It pinned him to the fridge. Little help? Pete's bubble started rolling. Protocol 34C, emergency stop proced. But the bubble zoomed faster, ping-ponging off the walls. It shot through the kitchen door with Pete yelling inside. I'm coming! Hank pulled free, only to spray more honey that glued his feet down. Right after get unstuck. Pete's screams echoed through Peanut Plaza as his bubble bounced everywhere. He smacked into the cookie clock tower, rolled through Cereal Valley, and hit every lamppost in sight. Hank's rescue mission left honey splatters all over Snackville. He got stuck to 3 buildings, 2 mailboxes, and one very confused jogger who kept mumbling about weird experiments and missing flavours. When they finally made it home, the sun was rising. They stood there, sticky and shocked, staring at each other. Pete! Hank broke the quiet. I don't think that was normal PB&J. Protocol 1A, Pete mumbled. Always check expiration dates. A honey drop fell from above. Splat. Well, Hank grinned, now stuck to the floor again. At least we're not hungry anymore. Chapter 2. Pecans, Powers and Pinball Problems. The recipe of success calls for 3 cups of determination, 2 tablespoons of focus, and snork. Grandpa Pecan jolted awake in his favourite armchair, his candy cane clattering to the floor. Oh, you're here! Salty Pete and Sweet Hank stood in the cookie jar arena, their shells still sticky from their midnight adventure. Pete gripped his neatly written list of questions, while Hank shot honey at the ceiling, grinning. First lesson, Grandpa Pecan announced, then squinted at the purple glow still shimmering on their shells. Hold on, did you two find the essence of flavour jar? The what? Pete whipped out his notebook. Protocol 27C, document all suspicious substances. The essence of flavour. Grandpa's eyes grew wide. An ancient ingredient I've guarded for years. Makes everything taste amazing, but it's tricky stuff. I was testing it in that PB&J jar, working on my midnight snack recipe when, snork, add eggs one at a time. Is that why it glowed purple? Hank bounced with excitement. Exactly! Grandpa snapped alert. Created by Snackville's first master chef, they say. Too powerful for regular food, but your special shells can handle its magic. Now. Grandpa hit play on an old cookie tin radio. Disco music filled the arena. Dance! But Grandpa, Pete protested, shouldn't we discuss safety protocols for magical dance? Grandpa twirled his cane like a propeller. The ancient masters learned control through rhythm. Hank jumped into action, sliding across the floor. This is awesome. Look, Pete, the sticky slide. The essence responds to movement and feeling, Grandpa explained, robot dancing. That's why you... His head drooped. Preheat oven to 350 degrees. Careful, Hank, Pete warned as his brother's dance moves wove honey strands across the arena like a crazy spiderweb. I am being careful. Hank swung from a honey strand. Watch these moves. Pete's nose twitched. Oh no, quick! Grandpa jerked awake. Channel the essence, feel the beat. Achoo! Pop! Pete's purple-tinted bubble appeared, catching disco light as it pinballed through Hank's honey web. Yahoo! Hank cheered, swinging after his brother. Just like the arcade. This, bowing, is ping, not bounce, proper, swing, training, Pete yelped between bounces. Actually, Grandpa stroked his shell, you've made the perfect training course. The ancient scrolls mention the great pinball trial of snork, mixed dry ingredients separately. Hank tried helping by shooting honey to slow Pete's bubble. Instead, he created more bounce points, turning the arena into a super-powered carnival ride. Remember, Grandpa called out, still dancing, true heroes work with their powers, not against them. The essence picked you for a reason. Also, where are my glasses? On your shell, Grandpa, Hank yelled from his honey tangle. Pete's bubble finally stopped, landing him, dizzy but safe, on a clean patch of floor. Protocol 89D, he mumbled. Always pack motion sickness bands. Perfect, Grandpa clapped. First lesson mastered. What lesson? The brothers asked together. Sometimes no plan is the best plan, and keep magical ingredients locked up. Also, Grandpa nodded off. Bake until golden brown. Hank freed himself and joined his brother. Same time tomorrow, Pete groaned, watching the disco ball spin. Or was the room still spinning? Oh, Grandpa perked up. Almost forgot the most important part. Safety gear, Pete hoped. Emergency plans, Hank guessed. Clean-up duty. Grandpa tossed them mops, grinning. A tidy hero is a mighty hero. The brothers faced the honey-covered, bubble-marked mess that was once the cookie jar arena. Protocol 64B, Pete sighed, grabbing a mop. Always bring spare cleaning supplies. As they cleaned, neither brother noticed Grandpa's worried frown as he muttered, I just hope they're ready when the time comes. The essence always appears when trouble's brewing. Chapter 3. The Admiral's Salty Scheme. Admiral Almond stood atop his foil-wrapped fortress, sunlight glinting off his polished shell. Citizens of Snackville. His monocle popped off, bouncing 3 floors before he caught it with a suppressed chuckle. As I was saying, a squirrel poked its head over the ledge. Shoo! This is my dramatic moment. The Admiral straightened his foil collar, fighting back laughter as the squirrel's whiskers tickled his shell. Now where was... No! He dodged as the squirrel lunged for his perfectly bland shell. Salty Pete and Sweet Hank crouched behind a pretzel cart, Pete scribbling notes while Hank left sticky honey prints everywhere. It all started, the Admiral announced, brandishing his salt shaker ray at the squirrel, when I dreamed of the perfect golden brown tan. The scene rippled. A younger Admiral dozed in a tanning bed, tiny foil sunglasses perched on his shell. Just 5 more minutes, he mumbled. Must maintain, optimal, toasting, temperature. Snore, ding. When I woke up, present-day Admiral wailed, my flavour vanished, gone, and with it my ability to taste joy. That's so sad, Hank whispered, accidentally gluing himself to the pretzel cart. But now... The Admiral raised his modified salt shaker, eyes twinkling with mischief. Behold my flavour-draining ray! A nearby pretzel vendor yelped as the ray struck. His golden surface turned pale. I'm bland. Soon, Admiral Almond declared, everyone will know my tasteless torment. Every cookie, every chip, every last... His monocle dropped again. Oh, come on. He snorted before catching himself. Cashew Carol reporting live. A reporter dashed past, chasing 3 ants playing keep away with her microphone. Snackville faces its blandest threat yet. Back to you. Hey, that's network property. We have to stop him, Pete whispered, reviewing his notes. Protocol 42F clearly states, Achoo! Pop! Pete's bubble wrapped around both brothers, sending them rolling straight through the Admiral's speech. Who dares interrupt my villainous moment? The Admiral squinted through his crooked monocle, fighting a smile. Sorry, Hank waved as they zoomed past. Don't mind us. Security! Admiral Almond shouted. But his guards, a row of salted peanuts, were busy watching the squirrel return with friends. Curse you, tree rats! The Admiral retreated inside his fortress. This isn't over. I'll return once I find my spare monocle. Behind closed doors, he finally allowed himself to laugh. The brothers crashed to a stop near the cookie district. Pete stumbled out looking dizzy. Protocol 73C, always pack motion sickness bags. At least we know his plan, Hank said, peeling himself free. Though I feel bad about his tanning accident. Breaking news! Cashew Carol sprinted by, still pursuing the ants. First bland victim sparks panic. Pretzels everywhere testing their flavour. Film at 11. We need backup, Pete decided. To the cookie jar arena. Right behind you. Hank tried to move but found his feet honey stuck to the ground. Just give me a minute. Above them, victorious squirrels raised their nut-themed flag over the fortress. Inside, Admiral Almond watched through his periscope, allowing one final chuckle before returning to his dastardly scheme. Chapter 4. Chocolate Chip Chaos. The emergency call blasted through Snackville's candy cane communications network. Help! Help! The Cookie District Community Center is having a meltdown. Probably those dramatic chocolate chips again, Pete sighed, flipping through his emergency manual, like when Grandpa Pecan taught them stage combat and kept mixing up dodge left with fold-in egg whites gently. Yeah, Hank laughed, already running ahead. I still can't tell if we were supposed to pirouette or preheat to 350 degrees. They burst into the community center to find chocolate chips huddled on stage, fanning themselves under blazing spotlights. These new lights are too bright, one chip wailed. We're melting. The spotlight, Chip dramatically, the theatre troupe star, threw his hand against his forehead. It burns. He collapsed into his castmate's arms. Stay calm. Pete checked his thermometer. The room is exactly 68 degrees. But those lights! The chips pointed at the ceiling. They're like tiny suns. The entire group fainted in perfect unison. Pete, look! Hank pointed up. The air conditioning's stuck. Pete's nose twitched. Ah. Perfect. Hank grinned. Achoo! Pop! A protective bubble wrapped around the chocolate chips, shielding them from the heat. My saviour! Chip dramatically sighed. Though this bubble does nothing for my best angles. I'll fix the vent. Hank shot honey upward. Splat! 3 stagehands and a spotlight stuck to the ceiling. Oops! Let me just... Splorch! The curtains glued together. Hank! Pete rolled his bubble of chips to safety. Protocol 55B clearly states, Pete! Hank cut in. Sneeze me up there. But the safety rules... Trust me. Pete saw his brother's determined face and nodded. Ah! Achoo! Pop! The bubble launched Hank skyward. He swung across the ceiling like a sticky Spider-Man, firing honey streams to create pulleys. He fixed the vent and landed with a splat in the orchestra pit. Cool air whooshed through the room. The chocolate chips sprang up, bursting into dramatic applause. Such flair, Chip dramatically declared. Though next time, darling, work on that landing. Hank peeled himself off the piano. Hey, at least I stuck it. Get it? Pete groaned but smiled. Protocol 91C, mission accomplished. Group hug! The chocolate chips mobbed them. Wait. Pete backed away. That's not in the proto... Too late. A dozen posed chocolate chips stuck to their shells. Well, Hank shrugged, now wearing 3 chips like badges. At least they're not melting. And scene, announced Chip dramatically from Pete's back. Above them, the ceiling-stuck stagehands had started singing barbershop quartet songs. Not exactly a normal rescue, but in Snackville, what was? Chapter 5. Festival of Flavoured Mayhem. The Midnight Snack Festival sparkled beneath licorice lights as treats from all over Snackville crowded the square, buzzing with excitement. Remember the plan, Pete whispered from behind a candy apple stand. He felt the familiar tingle in his shell, the first warning sign of a magical sneeze. Since that glowing PB&J incident, he'd learned the pattern. Shell tingle, nose twitch, then poof, Protection bubble. At the first sign of trouble, "Attention, Snackville!" Admiral Almond's voice boomed from his rebuilt fortress, now with extra squirrel guards. "Prepare to lose your flavor." The Admiral raised his modified salt shaker high, then sneezed as pepper dust floated up. "Curse this faulty pepper grinder, I mean flavor-draining ray." "Now?" Hank bounced eagerly, sticking his feet to the ground. His honey powers worked on pure feeling, no warning tingles needed. "Wait for my—" Pete's shell tingled harder. The bigger the tingle, the bigger the bubble. This one felt huge. Oh no. Achoo! Pop! A giant purple-tinted bubble appeared, scooping up a crowd of screaming gummy bears. The sphere glowed with the same weird light as that magical PB&J jar. "I meant to do that," Pete called after the floating gummies. "It's all part of Protocol 127B. Hank sprang into action, honey streams shooting everywhere. Each sticky splash would last exactly 5 minutes before vanishing, one of the few things they knew for sure about their powers. He turned the festival into an obstacle course, timing each honey shot perfectly. "Stop this at once," Admiral Almond ordered, then sneezed again. His pepper ray spun wild, zapping random snacks bland, and bouncing off Pete's predictable bubble paths. "The flavor!" Chip dramatically swooned from a honey slide. "It's gone, though I must say the bouncing does wonders for my stage presence." Cashew Carol dodged sticky blobs while reporting, "This just-in Midnight Snack Festival becomes citywide bounce house. More updates once I— Eek!" She stuck to a passing bubble, which would carry her safely for exactly 3 minutes. "We need to end this." Pete bounced past, counting down his bubble's time. "Hank, execute maneuver Sugar Rush." "You got it." Hank shot twin honey streams, making a giant slingshot. Although, what exactly is maneuver Sugar Rush? "No idea," Pete admitted as another sneeze built up, this one feeling sharper, more focused. "I just thought it sounded cool." Hank's honey slingshot caught Pete's bubble and, fwowing, launched him like a pinball. The new bubble type sliced through everything, bouncing Pete off 3 lampposts, over the cookie clock tower, and straight into the Admiral's fortress. "My perfectly organized fortress," Admiral Almond wailed as everything went crazy. Honey splattered the walls, bubbles bounced everywhere, and his pepper rays toppled like dominoes. Hank swung through the mess, timing his honey shots perfectly. "Oops, let me help." He slipped, grabbed a curtain, and somehow tangled himself, the Admiral, and half the furniture into a sticky web. The pepper rays spun through the air, sneezing all over the crowd below. Bubbles and honey flew everywhere in a perfectly timed dance of pops and splats. "Well," Pete said, stuck upside down to his brother, 2 minutes left, who was stuck to the Admiral, 3 minutes to go, who was stuck to an upside-down throne, 4 minutes remaining. "At least no one's worried about losing their flavor anymore." "That's because they're too busy losing their minds," Admiral Almond huffed, his monocle dangling. "This is the most undignified." A bubble full of sprinkles popped right on schedule, showering them in rainbow colors. "To be continued," Pete offered weakly, feeling another sneeze coming, "after we figure out how to get down." "Oh, that's easy." Hank grinned. "We just need to pop, splat, bounce." "Maybe not that way," he admitted from their new spot in the festival square, now tangled in the world's stickiest game of Twister, which would, Pete calculated, fix itself in exactly 7 minutes. Above them, the cookie clock tower chimed midnight, its hands mysteriously stuck together with honey that would melt away by dawn. Chapter 6. Sweet Victory and Sticky Smiles. "This is absolutely not according to military protocol," Admiral Almond protested, dangling from a honey web. Rainbow sprinkles covered his once-polished shell as another bubble of bouncing gummy bears ricocheted past his head. Pete checked his manual while stuck to a lamppost. "Actually, there's nothing in here about marshmallow-related sticky situations." Right on cue, marshmallows tumbled from an overturned candy cart, forming a fluffy crown on the Admiral's head. "My dignity!" the Admiral wailed as his monocle swung back and forth. "My perfect appearance! My—" A tiny snicker escaped his lips. Everyone froze. Even the bouncing bubbles seemed to pause mid-air. "Did he just—" Hank whispered from his upside-down perch. The Admiral's shoulders started shaking. Another snicker slipped out, then another, until he burst into full-blown laughter. "I look absolutely ridiculous!" "You know," he gasped between giggles, "I haven't laughed like this since before the Great Toasting Incident." His laughter spread like wildfire. Soon the festival rang with snack chortles and candy chuckles. Cashew Carol, still stuck to a nearby bubble, tried to maintain her professionalism. "This is Cashew Carol reporting. Oh, who am I kidding?" She dropped her microphone, to the ants' delight, and joined the merriment. "Perhaps I've been taking myself too seriously," the Admiral admitted, wiping tears from his eyes as his monocle fell for the final time. Pete's sneeze created a bubble that bounced through the festival, collecting honey and sprinkles until it sparkled like a disco ball in the festival lights. "Now that's a party decoration." Hank created a honey slide that sent chocolate chips zooming through the air. "Whee!" Chip dramatically led the charge, too excited to faint. Pete glanced at his manual before Honey sealed it shut. Protocol 99Z, sometimes the best safety measure is just having fun. From that day forward, Snackville changed. The city hosted regular honey bubble bounce parties, with Admiral Almond leading the marshmallow crown fashion trend. His fortress became party central, though the squirrels kept the top floor. Some folks still grumbled about sticky residue and constant bouncing, but then they'd spot the Admiral teaching young nuts how to properly wear honey-stuck sprinkles, and they'd smile. As Grandpa Pecan often said, between naps, "A little mess makes the best memories. Snork, don't forget to grease the baking sheet." Salty Pete and Sweet Hank never quite mastered their powers, but that was okay. The sweetest victories often come wrapped in sticky situations. Now, if you visit Snackville on a quiet night, listen carefully. You might hear a sneeze, followed by a splat, and the sound of laughter bouncing across the city like a perfectly aimed bubble full of joy.
Close your eyes, let your mind ignite. The universe of stories shine.